Hi, folks. Welcome to week number 6 of Interpersonal Communications Online for fall of 2013. Just a really quick reminder, I'm recording this video on Friday, September 27th. So just quick reminder that your instruction manual is due this evening at 11:59 p.m., saved in Word and uploaded into the appropriate Dropbox. And remember that quiz number 4 is also due tonight, Friday, September 27th. So with those two assignments, that will close out week number 5. And so this week coming up, week number 6 is September 30th through October 6th. And this week we're going to be focusing on perception. This is one of my favorite chapters in the whole textbook because I think it just has so wide of an application to not only your interpersonal relationships, but just kind of the general way in which you view the world. And so I think it's a really good chapter to spend time, really give yourself enough time to read and to understand and to follow the video links and really immerse yourself in this chapter. I think you will find it very, very interesting. This week, week number 6, you have, again, 2 assignments due. You have discussion posting number 2 and 2 responses to classmates that are due on Wednesday, October 2nd. By 11:59. So remember that Wednesday due date is thrown in there, and don't let that throw you and forget about that. Also, before you do your second discussion posting, please go back and look at the comments that I posted on discussion posting number 1. So if you did, for example, forget to include text concepts with definitions or page numbers, or I was encouraging you to really double check your grammar or spelling, make sure that you pay attention to those comments and feedback that I gave you so that you can correct those and do it a little differently for discussion posting number 2. So remember that you need to get the discussion posting in. This one does require you to go out to a website on perception, view some of the optical illusions, and then write your responses to them. And then remember that you do need to respond to 2 classmates by Wednesday. And again, folks, just a quick reminder, your responses to classmates need to be at least 50 to 75 words in length. So just, I always tell students that the best way to do those discussion postings is to type them into Word or whatever you're using as your word processing program, and then spell check, word count, grammar check, do all of that. But then please make sure that you copy and paste it into the text box for the discussion posting. Please do not attach your discussion writing as a Word document. So I know, and sometimes it can be tricky. I use Google Chrome, and they don't allow just the copy paste function in Google Chrome. I have to use Control C. I have to highlight the material I want to copy, use Control C, and then Control V to paste in Google Chrome. So if you're struggling with copying and pasting, it may be the browser that you're using as well. But please do not attach your writings as a document, but make sure that you do copy and paste. So that's what we're working on this week. Again, Chapter 5, reading, taking notes using the PowerPoint slides, completing the vocabulary worksheet for Chapter 5. But I do want to peek ahead a little bit with you to week number 7, and we're going to be looking at self-concept week number 7. And the reason I want to peek ahead is because I know a lot of you have already finished up your instruction manual and are kind of ready to start on that next written assignment, which is paired interview number 1, which is due on October 11th. So just 2 weeks away. So I did want to talk about that so that you could start to work on that. Please, though, do remember it's important to read Chapter 6 before you start on paired interview number 1, because paired interview number 1 is all about self-concept. So I'm going to switch my documents here, and I'm going to go over to the assignment sheet for paired interview number 1 so that we can kind of talk our way through that. You'll notice here, paired interview number 1, the title of it is Self and Other Perceptions of Self. And there are actually 3 different steps that you're going to be completing. Step number 1 for this assignment is to create 3 separate lists. And I want you to make sure you don't need to include last names, but include the first name and the relationship with your 2 interviewees. So your first list that you will create will include 10 words on how you describe yourself. And I want you to do this fairly quickly, folks. Don't spend a lot of time thinking about this. Do it fairly quickly. Just write a list of 10 words. If I was to ask, how do you describe yourself? Just 10 words. They can be adjectives, they can be descriptors, they can be physical things, just how you describe yourself. And so I have on here include a variety of types of descriptors, roles, skills, physical attributes, personality characteristics, but whatever comes quickly to your mind. So that's the first part of step 1. Then I want you to do a second list, and I want you to go to a family member or a close friend and have them do the same thing. Have them give you 10 words on how they perceive you or how they would describe you. I don't want you to show them your own list, though, because I think then that kind of that puts ideas or perceptions into their head, and I want them to kind of start with a clean slate. So have somebody who knows you really well also give you 10 roles. And again, you can use mediated communication to do this if you want. If you have a very good friend who is going to school in a different state or whatever, and you still want to use them, you certainly can do this through text messaging or emailing, or even on the phone is fine too. So that's your second list. Your third list then is to find an acquaintance. And remember, an acquaintance is somebody who is down on the impersonal spectrum, somebody who does not know you well, someone who you maybe just interact with in a role-based relationship. So it could be maybe an instructor that you have, could be a coworker that you don't know well, a neighbor that you don't know well, but just somebody who does not know you on a personal level. And I want you to do the same thing. And what I would do here, folks, because this can be a little bit awkward to ask somebody who doesn't know you well to describe you, but just explain to them that you are taking an interpersonal communications class and this is part of one of your assignments. And most folks are really willing to help when they know then why you're asking and that it's for an assignment. And again, don't show them your own personal list or your list from your family or your friend. So now in front of you, you should have 3 lists. You should have your list and how you describe yourself. You should have your list with your close friend or family member. And then you should have your third list, which is your list of 10 descriptors from an acquaintance. So now we are down to step 2. And for step 2, I want you to write a 3 to 4 paragraph analysis that explains the differences and the similarities between your lists. Your analysis should incorporate textbook theories and concepts and show understanding and application of these concepts. So for example, you might use looking glass self. You might include social comparison, components of self, personality types, self-monitoring, reference groups. All of these can be applied, but there is no requirement for this one that you have to apply any certain concepts. Like in your instruction manual, you had 4 areas that you had to choose a concept from. You do not for this analysis. You can choose whichever ones seem to relate to your list. I do want you to highlight the text concepts in a different color or font, and make sure that you include definitions and either chapter, section numbers, or page numbers. So that's step 2. Step 3 then is to write an additional 2 to 3 paragraphs that describe and analyze the nonverbal communication that was present in your discussion with your partners. So focus on bodily cues, facial cues, appearance, artifacts, all of those things that you noticed. Now, if you used mediated communication for one of your lists, make sure that you talk about that. Maybe you interviewed somebody on the phone. Well, then make sure that you talk about, all the nonverbals that you had at that point were probably, tone or rate or pitch or volume. So, you might have to kind of talk a little bit about how there were differences depending on the channels that you use to do your interviews. Again, make sure to highlight text concepts in a different color or a font, include definitions and chapter, section, and page numbers. And folks, for this one, you can just do step 1, have your 3 lists with first names and the relationship and then the 10 descriptors. Then you can write step 2, have another 3 to 4 paragraphs. Then you can write step 3, have another 2 to 3 paragraphs. No need to include transitions between steps 1, 2, 3, or transitions or introductory paragraphs. You can just go ahead and write like you did on your first instruction manual assignment. Okay, so the grading rubric for this assignment is if you're shooting for an A, you're going to have, of course, your 3 labeled lists that has the person's name and their relationship with you. You're going to cite 5 to 6 concepts from our textbook, including definitions and page numbers, and you're going to then have an analysis that clearly demonstrates understanding and the ability to apply course knowledge and information. Again, making sure that your writing is free of grammar or mechanical errors. So this is what you're looking for if you're looking for the A paper. And again, folks, it says 5 to 6 concepts. I always recommend that you do more than that, simply because you might have misapplied one of the concepts, or your analysis might not be very strong on one concept. So it's always kind of nice to have an extra 1 or 2 on top of that if you're really shooting for the A. So that is our next assignment, folks. Again, it's paired interview number 1. Same sort of process as your instruction manual, in that I'm happy to take a peek at it. If you get it done the Wednesday before it's due and you want to send that to me, I'm more than happy to take a peek and give you some feedback. I flipped back here to our schedule, so just a quick reminder. This upcoming week is week number 6. September 30th through October 6th. We're going to be working on Chapter 5, Perception. Remember that your discussion posting number 2 and your 2 responses to classmates are due by Wednesday. Making sure, this is kind of an easy one to forget, to cite concepts with definitions and page numbers. Make sure that you do that as you analyze your experience with those optical illusions, and then make sure that you get quiz number 5 completed by 11:59 on Friday. I am very much looking forward, folks, to reading your instruction manuals next week. Usually it takes me about 7 days to get assignments graded and comments posted on D2L. So be looking for those by the end of week number 6. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's supposed to be beautiful this weekend. So enjoy, and please, as always, email me if you have any questions or concerns.